Let's turn to exploring the Shema, discussions on the issues of Trinity. This is the second 30-minute segment of an hour-long study that I encourage you to stick around for the entire hour-long study. There's two ways you can engage in the hour-long study. One of those ways is to join us live each week during the live internet studies. Join me via Skype. Set your calendar and your clock for Saturday late afternoon from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Central Time, and you'll be able to join us for these live internet studies that they're brought via Skype. The second way you can engage in the full hour-long study is to simply wait for me to upload the full hour-long study to my YouTube channel, which gets uploaded typically on Saturday mornings or so, something like that, the week after I've done the study. So you have to wait almost a full 7 days to get the full study. It takes me a while to do all the editing. But this is the second 30-minute study, 5 parts. So we're on part 1 of 5. And we just finished looking through basically the entire study. And we went through kind of a review of the entire study last week. So go back and listen to last week's study episode number 197 with all of the parts there, 129, part 1 through 5. We're now ready to start looking at this, what I call Excursus, kind of a digression, as I'm going to mention. It's supplemental material is what it is. It's not absolutely critical to the study as a whole that you engage in this part, but I encourage it as the author of the study to continue along. Don't tune us out yet. Don't say, well, okay, finish with the study. This is still exploring the Shema, discussions on the issues of Trinity. So this particular segment, if this were ever turned into a book, which I pray the Lord that it would become a book one of these days, but for now it's not. It's still just an essay, an online internet study, a commentary. If it turns into a book one day, this will be a chapter heading or at least a paragraph heading or something like that. But it's entitled Section 8, Excursus, Ruach within versus Ruach upon. And the word Ruach is the word for spirit or breath or wind. And since we're talking about the Holy Spirit, that's what we're going to talk about. What I also want to do tonight, if I remember and if I have time, is I want to begin to whet your appetite towards the idea that I'm going to be undertaking a kind of review or critical look at biblicalunitarianism.com. Let me just show it to you right now. Biblicalunitarianism.com is a popular website for biblical Unitarians to go to when they're seeking to explain the Bible from a non-Trinitarian perspective. What they put together is a resource on their website where they take popular Trinitarian passages and they refute them from the biblical Unitarian perspective, or they explain it. It's not always really a refutation. It really is just a simple alternate explanation or assertion in many cases. In other words, they don't always exegete the passage, but they offer an alternate explanation. So what they're trying to say is that if you are biased towards the Trinitarian perspective and you've never heard the biblical Unitarian alternative, you might want to give this website a look. That's what they are trying to offer. They're trying to say, hey, the Bible doesn't have to be assumed in a Trinitarian perspective. So they offer all these verses. And so what I want to do is I want to turn right back around and take the very same passages that Trinitarians like, to which the biblical Unitarians refute, and I want to refute the refutation. I want to turn around and say, actually, there's a different way and a better way. And there's a reason why we Trinitarians view the verses that we do. And so they've got a lot from the Old Testament that they talk about, maybe a dozen. And then from the New Testament, again, another maybe 2 dozen there. Obviously, most of the Trinitarian passages, as you see me scrolling, almost maybe 3 dozen, are going to be from the New Testament. So what I want to do, perhaps over the next coming year, and keep my exploring the Shema study kind of going, but spinning off in a slightly different direction. I might change the format a little bit. Is I want to refute the biblical Unitarian worldview, their perspective on these verses. I want to challenge them. I want to provide my own answer to their answer. So that's what I mean by that. Challenging the anti-Trinitarian perspective. I haven't figured out what I'm going to call the study yet, but tonight, if I remember, we might take a bite out of that tonight by looking at Genesis 1:1. the first verse that they talk about. And the reason I might mention that is because in my own study here about Excursus, Ruach within versus Ruach within, we're actually going to talk about Genesis 1:1 and 1:2. So let's jump into the commentary and see how far we can get. All right, so this is Excursus, Ruach within versus Ruach upon. It's primarily a discussion about the idea, was the Holy Spirit upon people in the Old Testament as compared to the Holy Spirit being within people in the New Testament, and why would that matter if, in fact, that is the case, like many Christians are often taught?